Hi everyone, good day. My name is Juliet, and today I will be sharing my experience during my nurse informaticist interview with a clinical documentation integrity specialist, or CDI specialist for short. I will be talking about the unique question that I chose. I would also be talking about what surprised me during the interview, the insights that I gained, and also how the interview would influence my practice as a master's prepared nurse. Honestly speaking, the interview or the assignment was actually one of my favorites because it made me see nursing through a different lens. That nursing is not all about bedside care, but all that there are documentation and informatics that helps or quietly shapes what we do as nurses in the hospital. The unique question that I chose to ask my CDI specialist during the interview is, how do you measure the success of a CDI intervention? This question was chosen because CDI work can feel a lot like a behind the scene job. We hear a lot about documentation integrity. We hear a lot about queries and also coding. But I wanted to understand how they actually evaluate whether their effort is making any difference. During the interview, his reply really made me have an eye-opening. He explained that the success of a CDI specialist is measured through documentation accuracy, through case mix index, through query response rates, and also quality scores. I did not realize that the CDI specialist track so many metrics to make sure that documentation truly reflects the patient's clinical condition. Knowing this about them has made me appreciate how intentional and data-driven that their work is. One major surprise that I had during this interview is how many departments rely solely on CDI specialist work. In the facilities, the physicians would rely on them for accurate documentations to make their diagnosis. Nurses will rely on them for continuity of care. We have the coding and billing team relying on them for reimbursement. The quality team as well rely on them for performance metrics, and the leadership, they use them or they rely on them for strategic planning. I knew that documentation mattered a lot, but I did not realize it touched every corner of the organization. Another surprise that I got during the interview is how closely the CDI specialist collaborates with the IT. I expected them to collaborate or to work with coding team, but I didn't realize them to be so involved in redesigning templates, in testing EHR updates, and also improving workflows. It showed me that informatics is not just technical, it's deeply collaborative and rooted in our clinical practice. This interview gave me several insights into my own nursing practice. One biggest one is that documentation is not just chatting. It is communication, it is safety, it is reimbursement, it is quality, as well as storytelling. Every detail that I include or leave out affects how other clinicians would understand this patient. It will affect how the hospital will get reimbursed, and also how quality outcomes are reported. I also gained a deeper understanding or appreciation of informatics tools. Tools like barcode medication administration, dashboards, clinical decision support alerts. I know that these are not just an extra clicks. They are safeguards that prevent harm and support evidence-based care in the hospital. And finally, I realized how important collaboration is. The CDI specialist will depend on the nurses to document clearly, and as the nurses document clearly, they also depend on the CDI specialist to ensure that the documentation reflects the true picture of or true patient's picture. It reminded me that informatics is not just one person thing, but it is a teamwork. We all work together to achieve the greatest good of our patients. This interview will impact my practice as a master's prepared nurse by making me, one, document more accurately and intentionally, knowing now that every piece of information that I document affects the quality of the metrics, also reimbursement, and also it affects patient outcome. Two, advocate for informatics tools that improve safety. If the alerts are firing incorrectly, or if the workflow is confusing, I will speak up to get it fixed. Three, it will also impact me by making me collaborate more with the CDI specialist, with coding and also with quality team. Because right now I will be mindful that my documentation affects their work and also the organization's performances. And lastly, I would use data to guide my practice. Using data from dashboards, quality reports, and EHR analytics will become part of my decision making. Overall, this interview was inspiring and gave me a deeper appreciation for the informatics side of nursing. It reminded me that documentation is not just a task. It is a powerful tool that shapes patient outcome, patient safety, and organization performance. And as a master prepared nurse, I have the responsibility to contribute to documentation integrity, data accuracy, and system improvement. Thank you for listening and have a great day. Bye.